Did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
You don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. You do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I see that which has been made hidden. It's a part of man and explores the consciousness. I'm the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting in New York, upstate, next to the Great Lakes. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM. Broadcasting live. The call-in number tonight's 1-800-588-0335. You can join our chat room by going to thefringe.fm/chat room. Nicole Frolick is back here with us, and we're probably going to have a pretty deep discussion here. She's pretty cool, first and foremost. Speaker, intuitive life coach, and does a really cool podcast too. Lots of stuff. Cool blog. Got a lot of stuff going on. Mary Ducina has also been on her show. So I don't know if you guys are actually feeling this type of dreamy type energy that we're having right now, but the Pisces full moon is starting to wrap in, and it's I got to tell you, man, some weird stuff's been happening. Acted, I don't know, like I felt like possessed or just not myself the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. A lot of stress. I'm sure a lot of people felt it because I've seen it happen with a lot of people too, not just myself. And then I saw a ghost. Really, literally saw a ghost. And then we talked about becoming a ghost on our Patreon for the members. And by the way, you can get that new, if you join the, I guess it's third level tier, that Astral Journal is out for the patrons. So go check the Patreon there. You can sign up for our Patreon by going to patreon.com/LTV radio. I know the sound probably sounds a little different too in the studio. It's a little bit probably echoey, but I'm working on that. But I mean, like Clyde Lewis used to have that sound where everything echoed all the time, and everybody loved him. So maybe everything's just cool. We'll just keep it that way. Now, I do want to say too that I appreciate you guys so much for what you do and how much you've helped the show. And just that you're here night after night, especially some of you guys have been here for a long time, a really long time, and I really appreciate it. But we do have a new patron. I think his name's James. Yeah, James. That's right. And Steven. Thank you guys for signing up. Really appreciate your help. All right. So let's get on the road here. We're going to do this with Nicole. I don't know if this is a second or third show she's been on, but if you don't know who Nicole Frolick is, she's an inspirational speaker, intuitive life coach, co-host of the Enlighten Up podcast, and creator of the self-transformative program AlcheME, Alchemical Me. I think that's we'll have to get the correct version of that. And author of Inflexible Me, but I think this is AlcheME. That's right. Expanding past the inflexible barriers of the body, mind, and soul. Nicole believes in being the model of the change you wish to see in the world, and demonstrates that through living authentically. I was about to say authentically. Coming out of the spiritual closet in 2016, she has used her YouTube channel as a platform to speak her truth and share her experiences and knowledges that has led her through a transformative process of self-alchemy. And her deepest joy comes from sharing this process with others through her intuitive coaching, tarot readings, a variety of online courses available in her Inflexible Me Academy, including her latest program called AlcheME, guided meditations, her book Inflexible Me, and her weekly podcast Enlighten Up, and her latest series on vulnerability called Raw and Real. That's probably a good I didn't mean to butcher your intro, Nicole, but you know I love you to death, so sorry about that.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing? No,
I'm great. I'm
actually
great.
gotten a tarot reading from Nicole, and it's fantastic, spot on. But have you felt like any of this weird stuff going on with this moon, or what? Do you ever feel that like it's hyper emotional, maybe, and a little bit dreamy too? Kind of.
Definitely the dreamy thing. In fact, it's really cool that you brought that up, because the dream state has been something I've been really into lately. It's been something in my reality that has amped up incredibly since the whole COVID thing started, and just seems that I am being communicated like I've never been communicated before through my dream state.
Yeah, like what are you seeing? It's more symbols and stuff, or I don't know. Like I've seen some wild stuff in my dreams. Like I don't know. You go ahead though. Go first, please.
Yeah, like I'm finding that it's really intense, and I'm getting a lot of future communication in my dreams. So I'm getting future communication from my future self, and I'm getting future communication from people who are really close to me, who are helping me to work with a timeline that I'm not currently experiencing right now to help me create it. It's like I'm getting advice from the future, and it's all coming through my dreams.
Wow, yeah. See, everybody's saying like you need to pay attention to your dreams. I'm just trying to remember them, and it's something weird will happen is I won't remember them when I get up, but as I start walking and moving around, then I start remembering. Everything starts coming back to me, which is weird. Like that's usually not what happens. Usually you remember it when you wake up, or you try to go back or something, but now like I'll start remembering my dreams throughout the day and stuff. I don't know, it's strange. It's really strange.
Yeah, something triggers it.
Yeah, something will trigger it. Like I'll be talking to, that happened today, talking to Ryan Gable. I was talking to him about something, and, you know, he was like, man, I had a dream about, you know, like a black Madonna or something. And I was like, when he said it, it brought up something weird that happened in my dream. And then I started remembering like everything else in my dream. And I was like, yeah, this is weird. I just saw a ghost the other night too, like a full, just
apparition.
Yeah, it wasn't like a blob, or you know how sometimes it's a you know, you can't really tell what it is. Like this was a person, like a person.
Wow,
that's never happened in my life ever. What
did they want? Did they say anything to you or do anything?
No, they didn't even recognize me. I mean, I was like 60 yards away from them. They were just walking down the road. And you're just walking, and then disappeared. And I can't stop talking about it because it's kind of like the same time when I had an out-of-body experience in my life, like the first one where I was in locale, like when I was here on this plane. It was that intense of an experience because I know my mind wasn't playing tricks on me. But there's been a lot of astrologers and other people saying that, well, right now during this time, the veil is really thin, and there's the spiritual war going all the time, and a lot of change happening. And I was listening to some other astrological readings too, and they're saying, well, we're going through a portal right now or something. You know, all I know is that there's a lot of change happening, and I'm not just saying that, but you hear that all the time. You hear we talk about that, but it's like on a way different level than I've ever experienced before.
Yeah, it's like I feel so I heard something on someone's show, and I'm not sure exactly how accurate it is, but this person has incredible information. And he mentioned that the COVID virus is actually, because, it's constantly mutating itself, but it's going into our DNA and it's activating a lot of us and it's awakening a lot of us. And so I feel like, there's always a positive and a negative to everything in this world. We live in a dualistic world. So it could I wonder if this virus is actually coming in and turning on some of our intuitive capabilities or amplifying that in some degree.
No, I don't know. That's the first time I ever heard that, but I mean, the government and the medical department can't really give us any straight answers about it, so I don't know.
Well, from what I've understood is that anyone who does try to is lying because this thing keeps mutating and changing.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows what's going on? But I think even when just to that point of not knowing what's going on, it kind of, when we're in uncertain times and we're in a place of uncertainty with our life, there is a deep need to kind of go within, and it kind of heightens a lot of our intuitive abilities. And so even with this Pisces full moon that we're going to be experiencing, which is definitely heightening a lot of our intuitive abilities and dream states, I feel like that the uncertainty alone is helping to wake us all up to those gifts and turn things on, because we're just looking for answers, which you just said we're not getting in our external world. So we probably have to go internally to get them.
Yeah. Yeah. Do some deep meditation, active imagination, astral travel stuff. Like, try to stay, I would say right now would be the best time to try to do any type of dream and astral travel stuff, honestly. Like, try not to lose your awareness as you fall asleep, or meditate and try to stay there as long as you can and see what happens. I don't know.
I think so. This is such a great time. It's such a great time. And to me, I feel like everything in our world is distracting us on purpose to take us out of our ability to go within and to go into the dream state and to go into deep meditation. I also believe that part of like the dark agenda of the virus and everything else that's kind of going on in our world, highly, what's the word I'm looking for? Undervalued our ability to connect through the dream state, to do a lot of our conscious work and manipulate the timelines and the events that are happening right now through the dream state. And so I honestly feel like if you can really practice your lucid dreaming and really get in touch with what's happening in those 6 to 10 hours that you may be dreaming, and that is a time where you actually get to create and co-create in this world at probably a higher frequency and amplified energetic field to completely shift what's happening in this 3D reality right now.
Well, I can tell you what's shifting for sure is the dadgum internet connection. It keeps messing up too. Like today the internet's went down. I don't know, like when we were doing the journal, the internet went down like 3 or 4 times. It went down last night. The other night we were doing a show, and the freaking internet went down for everybody, not just me. Like, it went down for everybody in the room. And it's like there's some weird solar flare stuff going on too. So I have to think that it's all kind of interrelated, even the physical stuff,
I would agree.
So if you guys hear like the show cut out and come right back in like a few seconds or whatever, that's the internet like dropping and stuff. And I mean, there's no reason for it, dude, because it's solid out here. But the other night, we had some type of weird glitch in I was talking to Frankie Fearless, or that's who I was talking to. We had some type of weird glitch during the show, and I thought, oh, man, like I dropped the show, something's up. And then I looked down, and everybody in chat was like, my whole internet just went off. Like, everybody's internet just went out. That's pretty scary when everybody's internet goes out at once,
I know. It's our main communication line right now. Yeah. But all the more reason for us to like amplify other ways of communicating.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So how is your podcast been going? You've been talking to some interesting guests. I know Mary's been on there a few times, right? She goes on there,
I love
blows
having
doors
Mary
down.
on. We have her on like once every 3 months or so, just to give us kind of some insight and foresight into what's coming down the pipeline. And she's just so great. She has such incredible insight, and she's an amazing seer, and coupling that with her astrology wisdom is great. I just did a show tonight live. Actually, tonight was my first night doing the podcast live.
Fun,
and I
isn't it?
had Seth Leaf. Oh my God, I'm going to butcher his last name. Perzansky, I think. You should get him on your show. He's incredible. Have you had him on your show before?
No.
Oh, he's so good. He's like, just listening to him, his energy is so high vibe. Like you feel like you just had a frequency boost to a whole like 10 other dimensions. It's amazing. And so I did it live tonight for the first time, which was really awesome. And a lot of fun. So gonna start doing it live now.
On YouTube or like where?
Yeah, YouTube and Facebook. And then uploading it into iTunes and all that for afterwards.
Yeah. That's fun, isn't it? That's doing live is fun because I want everything to be real. Like when you do pre-recorded, you got to make it sound, I don't know. There's just a lot of pressure to make it sound perfect. And plus, it's like, hey, it's late at night. We're really talking like right now, there's something cool about that to me. Like anything can mess up, but whatever, it happens. So
it does.
So yeah.
The show's going really well. It's been a lot of fun, and I've had some great guests on, and I mean, you know what it's like. It's fun to be able to expand that network and talk to like-minded people and have these amazing conversations, and it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I just don't think I'm getting any closer to the answers that I want. Dang it. Like I'm not, it seems like when I find an answer, it's another big challenge that comes around, but it's cool. I'm actually working out a lot of spiritual things through this show. It's usually the show and like the relationships in my life, whether it's family, friends, partners, stuff like that, whatever. I think we all kind of do that though, because solitude is something that I'm very familiar with. I don't know about you, but I've been in solitude before for long periods of time, and I got to where like it just wasn't grow. I don't know if maybe I had a block or something, because all these gurus, especially in India, they can just get all enlightened and stuff and be by themselves. I just don't know. I couldn't do that, so I had to talk to people. That's why I did this. So
I think it's important that we're talking to people. I think we came here to spread our information, our wisdom, our experiences, and the times of allowing that wisdom to just sit in the cave and completely move away from society. That's not what we're here for, and that's not the times that we're living in anymore. So, you kind of got to like interact and be social in some way.
What are you going to do when they like are you going to take this vaccine that's coming? I don't know. I might move away from society when they start doing that. They start trying to force me to take vaccines.
Hell no. No vaccine is coming into this body.
Messing with like our RNA. Well, this is just a normal vaccine. I'm like, well, actually it's not. I mean, you guys have got some type of weird nanotech RNA, whatever you want to call it, stuff. It's messing with our body in ways that we're not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah. No, and especially now that they're saying that one won't be enough, that you need two for COVID.
You know what's weird about that too is like the CDC came out and was talking about all those stats that they've been telling us about COVID are completely wrong. It's on their website. Like the whole thing has been BS, right? Like I think there's some people, I'm not one to like want vengeance or anything, but some people need to be locked up because they locked us up, so I don't know. I'm just kind of frustrated from all of it, to be honest with you, but I did have some pretty cool spiritual experiences during the COVID thing, and it's really not over. I know there's some more stuff that's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
But that's interesting. Like, do you think that the Earth can really do that? Like, create a virus like that, or something that would upgrade us? It would make sense, wouldn't it, if it did do that?
Well, there's so many ways to answer that question. Like, one, I don't think this virus was made by the Earth. I'm pretty sure it was man-made.
Yeah, for sure.
But, who knows if, like, before we even came into this body, if, the human genetics, our DNA is so highly valuable. It's so highly valuable. It's why we're studied so much. And that if something were to turn on, that's their worst fear. And who knows if there was some sort of involvement from, like, I don't know, maybe white hat involvement that got involved with this virus somehow. I don't know, but there's just something about this virus, or maybe it's within the soul contracts that we agreed upon before we came into this body, that something would be activating within us, I should say, that turns on certain things. And for other people, it might put them more to sleep. Who knows? But I think it depends on your state of consciousness and your ability to be within a certain emotional frequencies, because on our DNA, there are all emotional receptors. And so depending on what frequency you're at and what emotional state you're at, you can turn on and off certain parts of your DNA so that you're activating certain gifts and turning off things that would be kind of, I guess, in a sense, dulling your abilities down.
Yeah, we don't want to dull anybody's abilities down, for sure. That's not what we want to do. We want to enhance them. You like talk about living authentically and genuinely. And what do you think is the key to doing that? Because it's not easy for everybody. A lot of people can be honest and be authentic and stuff, but then there's just certain things that they just can't be that way about. And a lot of times those things, I think, either block them, and I'm talking about myself too. They either block us from growing spiritually, or they stop us. I think we need some type of new awakening there.
I think it's important to really pay attention to the social stigmas around expression and being vulnerable. And the more that we allow one another to express our vulnerability, it helps to open that up. We were just talking about this on the show tonight. It's interesting that you asked this, because we're talking about how, for many of us on a soul level, our hearts are literally incarcerated, and we've kind of been put into this imprisonment during COVID, but it's kind of helped us really realize how much we're imprisoned through our minds, through these programmings. And one of those is the social programming and stigmas around being able to express ourselves freely through whatever emotions. And vulnerability is so key to becoming authentic, because we carry so much in our emotional field through the traumas that we experience from being children and growing up, and all of those things. We take them on and we're not allowed to express them. We carry them and through burdens, and they're basically carried through our DNA and our mental programs.
Yeah, that you're so true. But you know what? Like, I try to be that way. I try to be open, vulnerable, genuine, authentic as I can be. But I really think there has to be some kind of humbleness when it comes to that too. Because, there's this thing called like virtue signaling, where people say that they're just so good, and they, and I don't want to come across that way. And apparently I've done that somehow in my life, because I feel like, I don't know, like I got this thing where I want someone to feel not just that they can talk normally to me. It doesn't matter who it is. I want people to be able to open up to me. Like, I don't know why that's important to me. I've always wondered about that. Like, why do I care if they open up to me or not? But it's important. And so I feel like, well, that's what I'm going to do. And then sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable, though.
a safe environment when you were growing up? Like, did you feel safe? Did it feel stable and safe for you?
No, not to open up. As far as like physically safe and all that stuff, I would say yeah, for the most part. You know,
like I mean, emotionally safe.
Oh hell no, no. We weren't allowed to have emotions.
You're doing that to compensate for the desire deep within on an inner child level to have that emotional safety. So a lot of us do this where we'll try to do it for other people when deep down we need to be doing it for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, when's the compensation going to stop? Because I've been open for a long time now.
When you choose to start doing it for yourself.
What do you mean?
You've got to start making, like, do you ever do any inner child work, Joe?
Yeah, of course I do. I do it all the time.
Okay. So when you do, focus on creating a very safe and stable emotional environment for your inner child to speak to you and reveal to you the past woundings and fears and rejections that he feels.
Yeah, I've done that stuff. Like me and Mary have talked about it, how to do it, and done it a bunch. We actually did a whole show on it, you know. But it's like now I'm getting to the point where it's like I don't think it's more about me per se. I think it's more like we're not going to get to where we need to get consciously and evolutionary wise. I don't think until we all can kind of like find that safety, because let's be honest, there's people out there that aren't making it safe for us to be that way, you know. So there has to be something that needs to go on in society, like what you do, and I would even say like, well, what Joe Rogan used to do and what other people are doing, or Jordan Peterson. It doesn't matter if you agree with him or not, it really doesn't. But for somebody to just be that open and that vulnerable and that, I mean, Jordan Peterson used to go around talking about masculinity and stuff and then start bawling on the air. Like that's kind of commendable, right? But now there's these attack campaigns on him too. But I feel like when people are actually about to make some type of progress in their life, there's just this dark crap that comes around and tries to stop it. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, of course, because your energy field is no longer like a food source for those entities or energies that feed off of the destructive levels of consciousness that we're kept in when we're in fear and judgment and apathy and guilt and shame and all those kinds of things. So when someone starts to become vulnerable, they are now releasing and healing and transforming all of those destructive levels of consciousness, which are foods. They're literally food sources. And so, yeah, there's an attack to kind of keep you from doing that, because someone's losing their energy source, the parasitic energy source.
Right. So don't you think it's important, Nicole, just your opinion, that knowing that maybe we should try to make it more safe for people to open up that way, because there is this stuff going on, you see?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important, like cultivating a place of safety, and look at what we're going through right now. No one really feels completely safe, and they're making sure, when I say I just, the entities or the people or the factions that control this planet at this time are making sure that no one feels safe. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you fall on, whether you really want the vaccine and you don't feel safe until you have the vaccine, or you're scared that you're going to be forced to have a vaccine and you don't want the vaccine. Any way you slice it or dice it, people's actual safety is being completely challenged right now. And when your safety is challenged, you're now in fight or flight mode, or you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, all of your co-creations get stunted, because it's in that root and sacral and solar plexus areas is where a lot of us manifest our co-creations. And so it's very difficult to co-create in a high frequency manner of what's truly in your heart when you're scared and you don't know where you're gonna, you don't know what's next, and there's so much uncertainty, and you're basically living from a place of fear.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. Look, we already went through the break, so I guess I'm not going to take the first one, but since we already went through it. But look, that's the key. That's what's going on right now. I think these people, whatever, I don't like to get all conspiratorial, but to create a society that creates like these nuclear family ideas where you get the house and the white picket fence and it's never enough. You got to get something bigger and more and bigger and more. And you got to make sure that it's just you or you and your direct family or this kind of stuff. And you look at other cultures and you're thinking, well, they don't really do that. So every time we come together and we say, well, it's cool, yeah, to be independent, like with physical things and financial things. But I mean, the banking system, who knows what's going to happen there? So we need to learn right now, not only just to be able to open up and be vulnerable, find out where our tribes are, who we can trust, who we can't trust, where do we feel like home at, but with whom, and say, you know what, it's okay. Let's all just work together as a team and rely on each other in the ways that we work together as a team. And then we can actually become powerfully, not just physically, but spiritually. Instead of this program of divide, separate, and then, you know, put all the fear and uncertainty and all that stuff in there. Because now you got everybody all split up in their caves and they don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah, and now is more important than ever to be having a big support system. Like those are the things that actually will cater to you thriving in times such as this. So anything that you can focus on in your life that helps you build security, safety, support, all those things are so important at this time, which means, like you just said, we all really have to come together, and we can't be afraid of one another, which is part of what this whole social distancing is about, you know, amongst other things. But that's really what it's about, is to get us used to being further and further apart from one another so we can't rely on one another and come together. So it's important that we kind of override those things and figure out how, or get creative about how to build the support systems that have let us feel safe and let us feel nurtured and let us feel take care of, so that, again, remember, everything outside of us is only going to have power if we don't have it already built up within us. So it's a perfect time to go in and find out where are your triggers around safety, where are your triggers around feeling secure, and where are your triggers around not feeling supported, who doesn't have your back. All these things are coming up through this whole crisis right now. So if you can figure out how to build that up within you, then you will be less susceptible to the things that start to fall when the dominoes fall outside of you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think if you're being pulled towards somewhere, you need to listen to it. Like I got pulled up here. I would never leave Arkansas. Never in a million years. Like I've been there for 38 years of my life, but all of a sudden this opportunity comes up that I'm extremely grateful for. And Ryan's up here alone, you know, who's another show host here, but a good friend of mine. And it's like, I have like, I wish I could explain it, but I don't think I can, discovered some things that I wouldn't have discovered if I didn't make that move. Was I scared? I was completely afraid to do it. I'll be honest with you. It was scary. But the more fear I feel, like when it comes to those kinds of things, it makes me just me. This is just me. It makes me want to do them. Now, the kind of fear I saw when I saw that ghost is a different thing. That made me run into the house. You know what I mean? But this was like more of an anxious fear. Like, well, I want to do this, but I don't know. And you know, when I get like that, I can't stay in that. It drives me crazy to stay in that energy. I told Nish that when she was on here. I go one or the other. That's what I'm doing. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. This time, like, it paid off. I got a new friend. You know, he's kind of like a brotherly type guy now. Like, we watch each other's back. And I'm up here in a community where I'm pretty far away from the city. So, but then again, if they mandate it, then we'll leave. I don't know. I don't think they will, though. The vaccines, you know.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, I think things are starting to come to light. it's, you know what? We just got to stay in our power of revealing our own truths within and maintain sovereignty at all times so that that can be reflected in our outside world and hopefully shift this timeline.
You know what they've got now? They've got these jobs. They're offering people almost like $60,000 a year to go around and work for certain companies trying to locate people with coronavirus. In other words, the government is paying people close to $60,000 a year to be a coronavirus rat on your own people.
Oh,
now granted,
that's like another thing, you know, that's being programmed into us to like rat on each other, you know, to like turn on one another.
Yeah, they're turning us against each other, right?
Yeah.
You can't trust anybody. And it's just that type of feeling. It's bad, man. It's not good. Like, you know who you can trust. You should listen to your intuition. I'll tell you how you find out if you can trust somebody. This is like the biggest thing for me. If you can admit like the worst thing that you've ever done in your life, seriously, even if you've done it to that person and you're like, look, man, like this is what I did, you know, and that person like forgives you or accepts it or doesn't try to like vengefully take you out or something, you can trust that person, you know, like just go. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm a little bit too trusting, Nicole, sometimes. Actually, that's been my downfall. Like, I think they would call that naive sometimes.
Well, discernment, I feel, is one of the utmost important skills to have during this time. So you can see the good in others, but you have to have good discernment skills.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not, I see the bad in others too, and I've complained about that as well. But it's like, whatever, we all do good and bad stuff. It doesn't matter. Like, we need to come together or we're going to lose whatever's going on now, you know?
Yeah, and look at how they're using money when they've purposely crippled the economy, taken people's financial sources away from them, and then saying, oh, we'll pay you if you go and rat on your neighbor.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, we're paying taxes for rats, for sure. That's not right.
No.
There's something directly wrong with that. And you know what, the test with COVID, like everybody was, it didn't matter if you had a cold, if you had like, you stubbed your toe, you had COVID, you know? I know. And then they come back and they're like, well, some of these tests are wrong. It's like, well, then how do you pay the rats then? What are you doing? How do you pay these new jobs for all? It says the forcibly unemployed. That's the way they're looking at this. Like, well, if you're unemployed, we got something for you. You can become a professional government snitch, tracker, or parent. For you fellow citizens, for the wonderful pay of $57,000 yearly in this place that I'm living in now, New York.
Oh man, whatever happened to that saying? What was it? Was it snitches get stitches?
That's back in it. That's how it should be, right? Like snitches get stitches, and keep your mouth shut. Even like when kids do things bad, you know, you don't want to be the tattletale just because there's always that messed up kid that like to watch other kids get punished, you know. I don't know. This right here is a purposeful example to me of where we're getting so far away from spirituality and how they're doing things purposefully to make us not trust each other. I'm just saying.
It really is. You're absolutely right there.
Just saying, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial. Maybe it's all a big coincidence, okay? Maybe all of this stuff is a big coincidence. But to me, it's definitely like something going on to build, like you say, uncertainty and distrust. Not just in the government, not just in what's happening, but in each other. You know, what are we going to do? How do we defeat that? I think we defeat that by being the way you're talking about. Being open, honest, authentic, genuine, all the way, even brutally honest, because they can't, if you're that way, then they can't really stop that. Think about it. What if we had like an army of authentic, genuine people that want sovereignty? And then those people came together as a community. You see?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Transparency is the key to overriding all of that.
Absolutely. And then you got to think, well, now we can really do some spiritual work, and we can learn about all this stuff and where we came from, and all of the things that we want to learn spiritually, because we're not constantly in fear, worried about what's going to happen the next day. Now, I'm not the kind of person that worries about those things. I probably should, more than some people do. It's practical to worry about them. I feel like I can just I'll be okay in whatever spot. I feel that way, but that could just be totally an illusion. But do I feel like emotionally okay with what's going on right now? Absolutely not. No, I don't. And that's pretty crazy for a man to say, right? You know, it's usually the other way around, right? It's usually the woman's the one that's not emotionally okay with what's going on, and the man's trying to be the guy that's like physically making sure everything's going to be okay. Well, I think we all need to make sure that we're physically going to be okay, whether you care about it or not, if you care about other people, because it's going to come to this place, Nicole, I think, where it's going to be a bunch of smart cities and everybody living off-grid, smart cities and off-grid people. I had a discussion with a friend of mine about that today, actually.
Yeah, I saw something today on Facebook about the smart cities.
Yeah, do you know that's going to be crazy, right? Like, do you think that's going to help us spiritually? I don't know.
So like, okay, look, I'm not completely versed on it. So is this just when these smart cities, is that just like everything's basically like locked into a computer system?
Yeah, it's like all run off tech, all run off algorithms, all run off the grid, the cloud. Think about like what happens, the weird stuff that happens with Google. Think about like your whole city being that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's defined, a smart city is an urban area that uses different types of electronic internet of things, sensors to collect data. Insights gained from that data are used to manage assets, resources, and services efficiently. In return, that data is used to improve the operations across the city. So basically, it's just like these data machines that are watching you do everything, but only to collect data. That's where they say it's innocent. We're just going to collect data so we can do things more efficiently. But they know your every move. They sell that stuff to advertisers.
I just got messages and downloads from my guidance system on that. And they were showing me that it is possible to actually beat that system at its own game through us actually raising our own frequency and operating in higher dimensional awareness. So the higher that our awareness is, and we choose to live in a frequency that can't actually be traced, what they're showing me is that we can actually become invisible to the system just through a really super high frequency. That is actually possible.
Yeah.
In that thing. That's what they're showing me.
Like some type of meditation or something? What do you mean by high frequency?
Meaning that you embody total heart-mind coherence through your daily practice to the point where you're not even in like the energy wave of that system anymore. You're in a completely different like parallel reality that it can't even pick up on you.
That's interesting. Oh, that is interesting. I was thinking when you said that, I was thinking about like some of the invisibility magic rituals that people do to become invisible in the astral realm, which is really weird. I think that's what they're doing. It's like, it's not just in the astral realm too. There's a ritual you can do called the Rose Cross ritual, and it's not what people think. It's not like worshiping the devil. In fact, you invoke Jesus, his name, like I don't know how many times when you do it. And not only do you become invisible in the astral realm to things, but like when you're walking through daily life, it actually causes people to pay you no attention. It's really weird.
Yeah, and you know how like okay, so with our belief systems, if you believe that you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick, right? Well, if you believe that you can become invisible to these systems, these smart city systems, then you can. It's like it's okay. So I had this conversation on a podcast a while ago about how, like so I have some friends who are just totally against wearing masks, and they're just in this belief system that they're not going to wear them, and
Yeah, I'm
but they're
one of
not
them.
doing it from a place of resistance. They're just doing it from a place of I'm just choosing my own sovereignty, and they're not being noticed by anyone else, and they're getting into places for free, and it's all of a sudden like all these gateways are opening up where they're beating the system. And that's kind of the message that I'm getting about this smart city stuff, is that depending on where you're at on a belief system as well as a frequency system, you can actually beat that system by not even appearing in it. Like it can't read you. Does that make sense?
I mean, if that's possible, it's worth a try to test for sure. I think it's worth a try. Like, I'm just thinking that from I don't know, just a skeptical point of view, but I think it's definitely because people change their bodies. I'm talking about they change their body structure. People change so many things with, I don't want to say magic, but that kind of energy, manifestation, when they just believe something. Like that's what you're talking about. When I got up here, I mean, Ryan was like, literally, man, everybody yells at me wearing masks or not wearing a mask. And I said, well, I don't wear a mask hardly ever, and no one messes with me. And I just don't think they're going to. And they don't. Even with the big, big signs, like we went in a Target today, massive sign. You must wear a mask to come in here, no matter what, right? Everybody's wearing masks. They're walking around the store, man, and nobody even cares. They don't say nothing to me. Like, I don't get the guilt
Exactly.
trip. I don't know. And if the CDC come out with this information to tell you that all this, like, if you really go to the website and look at it, that most of this stuff was BS, and you go look at the flu thing, where they said, okay, we test the mask with the flu virus and stuff, and it really didn't make a difference. You got enough data to tell you that wearing a mask absolutely is ridiculous for this thing. Yet they've got everybody doing it. I think it's a big fat social experiment. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you've talked about it on your show, just how like they're testing AI to read people through facial recognition to see like can they get through the mask, and and then also like being able satellites. That's why they've got a social distancing, is so that they can track us, and just checking out all their I guess their technology on us. Like we're literally in one large experiment right now.
Yep, that's what I think it is actually. Because when they first announced this, they had the Pentagon and launched a satellite grid system, the largest one it's ever launched before during this, right? 5G towers are going up everywhere, and they try, and all they have to do is say, well, look at the conspiracy and fringe people. They're saying 5G caused COVID. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the 5G rollout was massive during COVID. That there was a satellite grid system that the Pentagon shot up into space, bigger than any other satellite grid system that exists during COVID. So, you tell me.
Yeah, the 5G is very interesting because from what I understand, it's like with anything, it can be used for good or for bad. It just depends on who's manipulating it, using it. And so I'm really like, from what I understand, there are people who are near like these 5G towers are getting very sick and getting affected. But I also know that there's a possibility that if the right people took over those towers, it could actually be used for our benefit. So I don't know. It's so interesting. It's so hard. Like, and that's the whole thing. There's so much information out there. You don't know what's true and what's not.
That's exactly right. You don't know what's going on. You have to look at the science of 5G and what you're talking about. There's definitely, Yeah, there's definitely how it's actually safer than 4G in certain situations. But in other situations it's not. So yeah, I've looked into all that too, and it is confusing. Yeah. So how do we, like, at this point, I get to the point when everything's so uncertain and stuff, I just tell myself, I'm like, look, I'm not taking a vaccine, I'm not wearing a mask. That's it. I can't sit and stew about what's going to happen because I don't know or whatever. I mean, all we can do is do what you say, like prepare for the worst, maybe, right? And then just like clear the mechanism. If you don't want to wear a mask and you're dead set on it and you believe it, don't do it. Okay? But whatever. Like let's move on with our lives and try to get something done spiritually, because we were talking about, speaking of ghosts, what if we all really learned how to astral travel and turned into ghosts? Would it matter? Would it matter if they have us like a social distancing after that? I don't think so.
Social distancing on the astral plane?
Like, it wouldn't matter, right? Like, you guys all stay in your houses. Don't go do nothing. Don't, for God's sake, don't touch each other. I mean, they're even telling people how to kiss and have sex with each other. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that they're telling you how to do. But
I know,
if you can like learn how to like get out of body in this place and turn into a ghost, it doesn't really matter what they do to you, does it? Right.
No. And also remember, I take a little bit of solace in this. This is what I try to keep rooted in, is that this is awakening a lot of people. This whole event, okay, is truly awakening people. I know people who were asleep until COVID started and are now like really understanding what's going on and questioning everything. And so that is a gift. And, that may have not happened had it not been this extreme. Sometimes, unfortunately, we live in a world where people have just given up so much of their own authority and so much of their power to things outside of them, and organizations and agencies, very like large ones, to just kind of give it all up to them, that, it takes something heavy-handed to kind of wake people up. And that's just kind of the nature of where we're at as humans in most cases. I mean, just looking at I'll just speak from my own personal experience. I tend to learn my lessons the hard way, and so you take that to a collective level. I can see why it's taken something this drastic to really start waking people up. I mean, thank God we're not living in Australia. I feel horrible for the
right.
people who are living in Australia right now.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I do feel bad for them too. There's probably a lot of people just trying to get the hell out of there right now, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what else to tell people other than like learn how to get out of body. I know it sounds crazy. Like, okay, that's your practical answer, get out of body? Yes. Yes, because once you learn how to do that locally, right? Then you can work on doing what like Daskalos did and a few other people, Robert Monroe, and learn how to like affect the physical world and become a ghost. And there'll be just, what could the government do to you if there was a massive, just paranormal phenomena happening all the time? We got so boxed in that we just started popping out of our bodies. So, you know what? I want to go like dancing or something, and you won't let me do it. So I'm going to pop out of my body and go do it. Or I want to go spy on what you guys are actually saying. They can't stop you. They can't.
Okay, so that's one way of looking at it, Joe.
The best way to do it. That's what Robert Monroe did. And when he did it, when he started doing it, you know what happened? The government went to him and they wanted to figure out how the hell he was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But there are other ways. There are other options that we
like
have
what?
as well. Like, I mean, one of the things that comes to my mind instantly is understanding how powerful we are energetically, and to use our own energetic frequencies to manipulate the things that might be, like, for instance, a vaccine. What if before they went to go inject that vaccine into you, you somehow were able to neutralize its frequency or neutralize what was in it, so that when it did get injected into your body, it was dead, like it didn't have any effect on you?
Well, you can do that. You can do that right now with 5G towers if you learn some biogeometry and what that's all about, and just start building up sacred geometrical structures in the right way to cause certain frequencies to, But I never thought about it that way, like doing it on a micro level to those. That's pretty interesting. Then they really couldn't stop us. So what if we learned that biogeometry, all this stuff, the frequency thing, and out of body travel? Then, I mean, come on, we don't even need a government. We don't need nothing. Well,
this is the whole thing. I just feel like there's so much available to us that we haven't explored, and now we're being forced to really get creative and to really explore our abilities, which is so beautiful, especially coming with the Pisces full moon, which actually maybe we could talk about, because I know you're probably gonna have to go to a break soon, but it kind of plays into the COVID narrative and what's happening with this full moon. And there's just so much available to us that I feel like, unfortunately, we're all being forced to now get creative because we're kind of running out of some options, at least in the old system and the way we were doing things.
Yeah, well, we knew that was going by anyways, right? So, I do got to take a break, though. We're at the top of the hour here with Nicole Frolick. When we come back, you can call in at 1-800-588-0335. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
Howdy, this is Catalina, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe it.
Para-Abnormal News. I'm Brad Bernards. Before astronomers first pointed their telescopes at the sun in the early 17th century, the star had already existed for around 4.5 billion years. We've only seen a brief glimpse of our sun's long and extensive life cycle. Inverse.com reports that according to a new study, long ago the sun varied in brightness and activity, and it may also have had a twin. The study, published this week in Astrophysical Journal Letters, suggested a model whereby the sun was part of a binary system. The authors theorized that the sun's companion was kicked out by another star that got too close. The model has implications on the mysterious Planet 9, increasing its chances of having once been captured by the stellar duo. The idea may seem wild to most, but Amir Siraj, the paper's lead author and a student at Harvard University, finds it rather unsurprising. Radioactive dust deep beneath the ocean waves suggests that Earth is moving through a massive cloud left behind by an exploded star, according to reporting in ScienceAlert.com. Continuously for the last 33,000 years, space has been seeding Earth with a rare isotope of iron forged in supernovae. Here's nuclear physicist Anton Wallner of the Australian National University.
Supernovae are very explosive, very highly energetic. If such events happen close by to the solar system, then there might be even an impact on climate or on life forms on Earth.
It's not the first time that the isotope known as iron-60 has dusted our planet, but it does contribute to a growing body of evidence that such dusting is ongoing, but there's more recent evidence of this stardust, much more recent. There's more news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath. No garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves! Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling. The ground shook. You could hear rushing water. And then, history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails. Stores with their shelves strip bare. ATMs can't operate. Deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand three truths. FEMA is broke. The system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in one business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
The Liberator Rocket Heater will heat your home for free. The highly efficient Liberator Rocket Heater has no moving parts. It's safe and strong, constructed of 1/4-inch steel. So like all things made in the USA, it's built to last. Uses any kind of wood, sticks, even scrap in its gravity-fed firebox. And it heats workshops, homes, garages, outbuildings, industrial areas, and barns. Watch the video of this blast furnace stove in action. Visit rocketheater.com. That's rocketheater.com.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of the family of schools and consciousness. I am a woodwalker. Hey, this is Macon, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS speed rescue.
The first message
that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're at the into the second hour with our guest Nicole Frolick. And Nicole's like one of those guests that we can come on. She has her own podcast, her own blog. She's a life coach, a tarot reader. I would consider her a colleague, right? So we've been talking a little COVID and all this stuff that's going on here lately. But the big thing right now, I think, is, you know, you bring up the Pisces full moon. I bring up change. I want to go circle back to that. Like, everything that I've seen has something to do with change. Like, I even have hosts, for example, Nicole, that come on and they come in and they do a show. They do a series of shows, and it's all about, you know, the lead up to understanding yourself and then changing. And like, I don't know, everything in my life, maybe it's just my life, but is representing change. Like, you're really, like, this big change is happening. And I think Art Bell talked about it too, but I don't think some people are handling it very well, to be honest with you. And then again, I think a lot of the people that get into spirituality and really do, like, what do you call it? Self-introspection. You know, those people are the ones that are actually massively growing from this stuff. I actually I've not bad feelings about it. I've got good feelings about all this. What do you think?
Like COVID and everything happening. Like,
I just think I think, you know, there's the doom and gloom and the apocalypse type mentality, right? Or the end of the world, nothing's ever going to be the same. But I don't know. Like, I wonder if it's really...
No, I have a very positive outlook on it and perspective. I'm not really too worried. I believe that this is, you know, like, we've got to remember that it's always darkest before dawn. And in order for systems to fall down, like, let's go to the tarot. The tower, we're literally in a massive tower moment. We've been in a tower moment since about like February, March. And what comes after the tarot? The star card. And I was just talking about this tonight on the podcast that, you know, to me, the star card, yes, it represents healing and it represents wish fulfillment coming in and bringing in light after a dark period of time where the system's collapsed and now you're healing it and rebuilding. But the star card also represents the star seeds and the information of the stars and the vision of the stars coming to light through our own beings here. You know, we as star seeds holding the visions of the stars in our own eyes, and can we communicate that vision to this world so that it can be birthed and created? And I feel like we're in that moment. I feel like now is the time for the activation of that star card to kind of come in when it's been dark and things have been destroyed and all these systems are collapsing, and it's uncomfortable. Of course it's uncomfortable. Chaos are needed sometimes in order to bring in new change, because the old systems weren't working. They truly weren't. So why are we resisting the change? We all wanted change. We wanted things to change. We just didn't think it was going to happen so crappy. So right. I think we're heading into a positive space. It's just going to be an uncomfortable ride in order to get there.
Yeah, so like a sense of humor is going to help. For sure. Community is going to help. Finding who you can lean on and who you can't lean on. I wouldn't so focus on so much who you can't. I would really like learn to appreciate the ones that you can.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to take a victim mentality during this. You really don't. That's what they want you to have.
That is the most disempowering place to be. And that's why the victim mentality is pushed upon us, like, especially over this last decade. We went from like the 90s being all about inspiration, being the leader, being like the total drivers being in the driver's seat of your own destiny, to now like just using victimhood as a currency. Like the more victimhood you are, like the more victim you are, the richer you are in some ways. It's so backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's important for us to rise above that and to never be the victim and to find ways of how to navigate the difficult times. We're always going to find difficult times in our challenges here on earth. That's why we came here. That's why we incarnated into these bodies, into these lessons, is to learn difficult lessons. Earth is not the place you come to as a soul for vacation. Earth is the place you come to level up as a soul. So keeping that in mind, knowing that we're going to be facing challenging situations, we have to come to it with basically putting our best foot forward and basically ready to level up and give it all we got.
Yeah, well, dadgummit, I was really hoping to take a vacation, you know? So, like, I don't know, I remember reading Michael Newton's book, like, Journey of Souls, where he talks about that, where the souls, like, you know, they're leveling up all the time, and people can't really understand what, like, why was I born with this, or why did this happen to me, but it was really something that the soul was trying to work out, that, you know, like the conscious brain can't really comprehend unless it gets super spiritual, unless you start doing the self-awareness thing. But I will say, there were actually some souls that was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a break this time. Like, I think you gotta earn those, though. I don't know. Maybe, what do you think? Like, I do want to take a vacation from Earth, or just like have a life where everything just works out perfectly. Is that even possible? Is it possible at all?
Yeah, well, I think you have that moment before, like, you know, like that downtime between like incarnations.
Yeah.
What do they say? Like you incarnate around every 5 to 20 years after you've passed on. Like, so you got about 5 to 20 years of vacation downtime to reflect on what you didn't accomplish in this lifetime, what you did accomplish, what your next, you know, mission is, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've wondered, like, are 5D vacations all inclusive too? Because that would be really fun.
Yeah, like at some point, I mean, I'm almost there now, and I'm 38. You know, I probably got much further to go. But even at 38, I'm like, you know, I got a couple of things I want to do, but I don't know if I want to keep, you know, like bringing this on myself. I'm ready to go to Fiji, you know, and just be done with it. But that's kind of selfish, because I know I'm here to do something, but I don't know.
Well, it's good to take little moments to recharge, because you can't go full steam through your whole life and not take moments to recharge. And those are the times you can take a little vacation. But overall, in times like this, it's time to show up.
What are we going to do? I want everybody to really think about this. What are we going to do when they come to you and they say, you know, your bank account, your cash, your cards, your savings, all that stuff? Well, something happened to it. And we're all back to zero. What are you going to do then? That's what you need to think about. I'm just saying, like, if you want to feel safe and secure, really safe and secure and sovereign, try to think about how you would live if you didn't have money or have to depend on the banking system. Now, that's not like possible. Most people are going to be like, well, that's crazy. That's hard. It's tough. But not if you got a community of people. It's not. It's really not. Like, we could all live in a mansion and have a pretty damn good time if we wanted to, you know, and just everybody'd have to pull their own weight. That's all.
I would say, in your time where you're not, here's the thing too, is we've got to really focus on pulling back away from this whole narrative that's being pushed upon us constantly. Like, we are being bombarded with this narrative over and over. So it's all we think about. It's all we talk about.
Yeah.
And if we were to pull back from it and start thinking about what is it that I really want to create for the rest of 2020? What is it that I really want to remember this year for? Because right now, COVID is completely dominating everything. But what if we went in and you start thinking about, again, this is something that I've been really focusing on is future communication, future self-communication, and really tuning into, because I'm telling everyone out there has the ability to communicate with your future self, at the very least, your future self. What does your future self want to tell you about the timeline where you don't even have to worry about all the stuff that we're talking about? And, what choices do you need to make, and what frequency do you need to be in, and what state of mind do you have to be in, and how are you going to disengage from the creation process that is being pushed upon us? Because the more we put our focus and intention into it, we're literally helping to create a narrative that we don't even want. And so we disengage from it and we learn to create what it is we do want. And we have to kind of come back to understanding what is that, because we've been so distracted for the last 6 months.
What do you want
So
is a good question. That's a good question you should ask yourself. Like, if you're my age and you don't know what you want yet, that's okay, but you should have some idea, right? And if you don't, that means there's too much stuff influencing you. Like, you need to let that stuff go. I think that because I grew up being influenced like by everything and everybody. That's all I cared about was fitting in. I want to fit in, which, kind of helped me develop my communication skills because I cared so much about it. But I don't know. I think it helps you. It helps to, like you say, it circles back to what you're saying. We've got to be brutally, kind of like vulnerably honest with ourselves and each other, and we'll know what we want.
Yeah.
To me, that's like the answer to everything. I don't know why. It's not like it's not like it's the miracle jelly to everything, but to me it is. Just be vulnerable, be honest. It's not that hard. It just is scary. That's all.
It's a powerful healing tool. It's a very powerful healing tool. So when you do allow yourself to become vulnerable and seen and transparent in all that you are, not only are you removing the burdens yourself, but you're also activating a healing response in someone else, because finally they're able to see a level of transparency that we're all being told to suppress. And it gives them a permission slip to finally be like, oh, hey, does that mean I get to be vulnerable too? Does that mean I get to express? Because now this person's put me in a position where I can listen without judgment. Maybe I won't be judged if I'm vulnerable. And that allows a healing to take place as well. And so there's a lot of healing that can happen. And when we heal and let go of the heavy energies that keep us in dense thoughts and dense feelings, that allows us to basically take quantum leaps and to transform our realities, go into different timelines, experience different timelines that up until that point felt like unachievable.
What? So are you believing that, like, multiple timeline theory, huh? Or like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been experiencing bleed through of timelines where I'm experiencing a higher timeline starting to bleed through for moments and experiencing that, so I get a taste, so I know like where my momentum's building.
So how do we go about doing that, Nicole? Like, where do we start? If we want to pick the timeline, what do we do?
Okay, so here's the thing, and this is what I've been really focusing on this year. This year has just been so much focus on the future. And I know it kind of sounds counterintuitive because we're told to always stay in the now. But if you want to have a different experience that you've never had before, you have to go into the future, because the future is something you haven't experienced yet. And if you want to create from a place where you've never created from before, you have to understand who your future self is so that you can start tapping into that ability to create from that place. So one of the things that I've been doing is in my meditation is I kind of pick one or two dreams of mine that I have yet to experience, that I truly, it would just be the most incredible thing if I got to experience in this lifetime. And I tap into like, what does that feel like when I'm experiencing it? And I tap into the emotions, and I really engage in a very tactile way of that vision. So not only am I seeing it in my mind, but I'm paying attention to the feeling, the sensations, the textures, the smells, everything, the very, very fine print details. And I start feeling that. And as I'm feeling that, my brain, my neurons are now firing in different ways because it's a completely new experience that I've never experienced before. And as I start to engage in that frequency and I start to really live it through my mind, because remember, the mind doesn't know any different from what's true and what's not. It's just, you put some emotion behind it and all of a sudden it's real. And so you really tap into that future experience. And now all of a sudden your body's starting to change and your neurons are firing in different ways. And you in this timeline are starting to create it. And you'll find that you'll start to pull in certain elements of that timeline into this current now that you'll get to experience. And those will act as confirmations for you to know that you're doing something powerful. And it's really an incredible ability that we have in a co-creative way to tap into the future and pull it into the now. It's just a time travel technique that we're all capable of doing. So, for instance, time travel to the past, we do a lot of inner child work, right? So why do we do the inner child work? We do the inner child work so that we can go back into the past, heal the wounds that we've avoided and that we've suppressed and repressed over time so that we don't have to think about the trauma. But when we go back in time, we're literally engaging with our small self to change the timelines across the board. So when you go in and you start to heal something that happened to you from the past, all of a sudden, all the timelines start to change ahead of it, because now that experience is shifted. You've gone in there and you shifted the experience by healing it. Well, if we can go back in time and talk to our small self and heal past events, why can't our future self come in and be talking to us right now, giving us information that would help us shift the present moment into an experience that maybe perhaps we're not on the right timeline that we think we are in order to experience what we want. And now we're able to get information from our future self just the same way that we go back in time to our small self to change and heal and shift our reality and how we're experiencing right now. Does that make sense?
It does. A lot. Kind of. I just want to know how to talk to my future self, or speak as my future self. I guess, there was a book called Conversations with God that, well, actually I thought was a great book, the first one. And God told Neil Donald Walsh that you could speak to your past self. You could actually help it. Like he talked as if it still existed. Like we have this mentality, I guess, or maybe I do, that nothing exists but now. The past is kind of an illusion. It's not there. So is the future. But according to this book, you could do that somehow. It all exists. That's the whole thing. Yeah. The past, the future, the present, it all exists at the same time. Yeah, we're growing really slow in it, huh? So
yeah.
Yeah, so like I think what are your thoughts on, I'll just stay with this Pisces moon thing. I've got the person that helps me do the journal and a couple other people and a friend of mine as well, like experiencing certain people showing up in their dreams. People that we've never seen before. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that's about? Not just like people in brown robes, I'll tell you that are trying to wake each other up, so to speak, or saying things that don't make sense, but it sounds important. It's hard to explain.
So I received a download about that during a coaching session with a client of mine. She was asking the same thing or going through similar thought process that you are. And the download that I received is that we could very much be guides for other people in their dreams, and vice versa. Other people could be guides coming to us and interacting with us in our dreams to give us messages, to help us out, to perhaps provide us with clues that we need in this waking reality. So when you interact with people you've never met before, they could potentially be guides of ours that have agreed to interact with us through the dream state. Or they could you could also be guides for those. I also believe that in our dreams, we're interacting on other timelines as well, and we're engaging in timelines that are not particularly this one. And you could be essentially interacting with people who could be there to give you information, perhaps for this timeline as well, or affect you in some way, or vice versa, you affecting them in their timeline. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a very wild subject to me, and I love it. Because Robert Monroe had a moment where he actually lived in another guy's life, but would have to leave it from time to time.
Oh, wow.
Which, that's not even separate timelines. That's like alternate dimensions on a separate timeline. But he still was kind of him, you know? I don't know. Just sometimes, you know, it feels like something's trying to talk to you, but you can't make it out. No matter. So, and you know, you can obsess about it, meditate, try to figure it out. But it's like these messages, they just come in very briefly. I don't know. I get obsessed about stuff like that, Nicole. I got to figure it out.
Have you had any precognitive dreams lately?
Yes. I mean, well, yes. But, yeah. As a matter of fact, in the past 3 years, I've had more precog dreams than I've ever had.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But see, that's because I learned how to dream journal. I learned how to, before I wouldn't even write things down, you know. But now.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, because you write it down and it comes to pass later. And you go, oh, you know, like that's what that symbolism was, because this perfectly matches this dream I had that made absolutely no sense. None. Not even the symbolism until it happens in real life. And then it puts the puzzle together, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most of it's pretty personal, though, I got to tell you.
The precog dreams?
Yeah, like I've never had anything that showed me like what was going to happen to the earth or, you know, people. It was always something really personal for the most part. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've been experiencing some precog dreams as well. But again, like you, well, no, actually I did have a precog dream, right before COVID started, where I ended up in a city where it just felt like the apocalypse had hit, and people were lining up in like all these lines, and felt very depressed. There was graffiti all over the place. It felt like, I remember on the street, or not on the street, on the sidewalk, there were like square, you know how like sometimes the sidewalks are in squares, and there's like each square would drop down, and then a pillar would come all the way up through that square, and someone would walk out off the pillar, and then the pillar would go back down, and it'd just be the straight sidewalk. And it felt like very zombie-ish and very, I just remember being in that dream going, where the hell am I? I don't even want to be here anymore. This is crazy. And I just felt like it was kind of some sort of insight into, like, you know, Portland or something like that, where it's gone into a total apocalypse kind of mode.
Man, that's crazy. I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope the world doesn't come like that.
Yeah, kind of did though. Like, you know, maybe not like the pillar thing, but it felt like, it felt very dark and very, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when some place has gone completely totalitarian, it just, you know, all freedom stripped, and everyone, again, I also got the sense that everyone was being watched. So maybe like kind of like those smart cities.
I feel like I'm being watched right now, oddly enough.
Oh, we all are, definitely.
Because, well, I don't want to get into that. People are going to think I'm crazy, but you know, when you talk, stuff comes up on the computer. I'm just saying here lately, like I've been thinking about things and they show up.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
is that behavior? Are we really that predictive? Or, I mean, I know nothing's reading my mind. I'm not saying that anything that crazy, but it feels that way.
Yeah. Do you listen to Tori Says at all?
I don't get
She's
to
been
listen
talking
to
about
them
that.
much.
You know that Shadowgate documentary that came out a couple weeks ago, and it got banned within like the first day that it was up, with Millie Weaver. And they talked about this technology that is being used to completely tap into the psyche of everyone so that they know how to manipulate certain communities to do the certain things like these riots and things like that. So we're absolutely being not just watched, but programmed and understanding like the psyches, our own psyche, so that they know how they can manipulate us.
We got to learn psychic self-defense then for sure. It's time.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's why I talk so much about the subconscious on the show, because I think if you can understand what you do unconsciously, then you have real power. Because everybody's always like talking real powers, freedom, sovereignty. Yes, it is. But like, if you can understand what drives you to do what you do unconsciously, then no one will ever have control over you again.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
So, yeah, but is that kind of, that's like a paradox. So is that kind of like you trying to control everything? You know, I don't know.
No, we just have to go in and reprogram our subconscious with actual programs that benefit us and keep us in sovereignty and freedom.
Well, what if there was one thing, like I love it. I haven't asked you this question. I want to start asking all my guests this questions. If you were a multi-billionaire, Nicole, what would you do with it?
Oh gosh.
Multi-billionaire, not millionaire. What would you do? If you didn't ever have to worry about money ever again, that's the kind of money you got. I'm talking about filthy, rich kind of money. What would you do?
Well, why not? If here's the thing, is that if it could build a system that would completely override the tech systems that are controlling us right now, and have a way to get everyone engaged in a way that could take all of that down, I feel like that would be a system worth paying for. You know, like
the anti-AI system or something.
exactly. Something that is, well, because AI is there is beneficial AI. There is positive AI as well. And so what if we were somehow like build a system that overrides the current system and is more powerful in a benevolent way to not just override it, but to expose things so that people would not be pulled into the programming. It'd be really cool to have a very positive programming effect where we're now like having our subconscious programmed with ideologies and beliefs or thoughts, affirmations that are supportive to the betterment of humanity on a collective level. You know, things that actually bring community together and are not about snitching. You know, it's about like having each other's back and protecting one another.
And then we can go back to snitches get stitches again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because I feel like, you know, as much as we don't want to like believe it because we look at the technology around us right now and it's being used against us, I feel like technology is where it's at when it comes to understanding like how we can be more powerful. But let me rephrase that. I truly believe, though, that the most incredible technology that we have right now is our own DNA. And so, what if we could create something that allows people to truly understand the technology behind our DNA? Maybe we need a lot of money to understand that, a lot of funding to go into really breaking it down, where we don't have these controlling systems preventing us from truly understanding how powerful our DNA is. Maybe that would be an awesome way to like spend the money.
What if the only way that you could do that would be human experimentation?
You think so?
I think that's what Bill Gates has been doing. Honestly do.
But there he's doing it from a perspective of deactivating the DNA.
Right. But
what if we were doing it from a perspective of discovering our human powers?
That's what he's telling us. But
yeah,
he's discovering things that here's my problem.
and they're suppressing all the information that they don't want us to know, right? So what if we had all the money was able to go into overriding that, so that people actually knew how powerful the human DNA is, and what sort of strands we could be turning on, and what sort of codes, like what sort of expressions turn on certain codes of our DNA that activate certain gifts that we don't even know exist to us right now.
Yeah, that's yeah. See, now I'm just trying to say that what you're talking about is awesome, but there's a slippery slope there. Like we always talk about how, and I knew you would give me a super honest answer, and that's great. And I think that would do great and wonderful things. But you know how we always talk about, like, if we had the power, what would we do?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't ever think that power would corrupt us, only those people, However, I think when you get that kind of power and you're like, well, I want to do this for, like what you're talking about. If you're not careful, the next thing you know, you're like, well, I can't study this without, human experimentation. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go out and create vaccines that actually help people and cure them of diseases. And I can get my study material back. But I won't do it in the United States first. I'll go to Africa, India, other places like that. And, that way if anybody dies or anything, like no one's going to notice, and hopefully that'll happen. And you start justifying things in your head, and the next thing you know, you're the next world supervillain like Bill Gates. It's a slippery slope, Nicole. I'm telling you. Just saying.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you're also coming from the perspective of the way it has been approached to this point. But for instance, if you look at like Joe Dispenza and what he's doing,
oh yeah, I love Joe
in all these studies, right? Like you could be just like, what if we just did all of this, put all this money into studying how positive effects, like whatever it is, like when we're utilizing our third eye and we're going into deep states of harmony and heart-mind coherence, what power does that have on our DNA? And what if we used the money to really focus from that point of view versus like the way like a Bill Gates is?
Yeah, right. Like exactly. And the Joe Dispenza is of the mindset that, if you can focus on it and you can put your emotions behind it, focus on it, say it, see it, visualize it, feel it. And this is like old school, manifestation. Everybody knows this, but he breaks it down to a science, a frequency science, right? I've read his books before. They're fascinating. And people might say like, well, that's just it's too good to be true, but it's not. It's not. It's totally real. You just can't see it, but it's real.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, it's kind of like this thing of, you need to see it in order to believe it. But, they say, well, you got to believe it so that you can see it. And that's so true, and that kind of goes back to that whole idea of what I was talking before about talking to your future self and communicating and going into the future and believing what experience you would go and experience it so you can believe that it's actually happening in your mind. Because as soon as your mind and your emotional frequency is put behind it, that charge is put behind it, that's powerful, where it gets you excited and you feel like love and you feel joy and you feel passion, something that really just evokes some sort of high frequency emotion from you, and then your mind's playing this vision out at the same time, all of a sudden you're feeling something, you're going to believe it. You're going to start reprogramming yourself, and you start rewiring the way your nerves start firing in your body. And that is like something that I would love to invest more money into understanding, because that is where I feel like humanity could benefit from, and also take back a lot of our control. The whole reason why this whole planet is dumbed down is so that we don't awaken, and so that we don't realize that potential.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's why people they kind of laugh at normal society. Be like, oh, the paranormal group, the fringe group, the conspiracy guys, they're crazy. They just make stuff up. But if you look into our community, these are like people that have had experiences that have shown them that there is some type of magic behind the universe that's going on. And yeah, so what? Like if we're all into comic books or whatever, that's just because like we believe that there's more to this thing than what we're being shown based on our experiences and the stories that other people tell and other things, you know. Like I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't had that out-of-body experience. And now that I saw a ghost, I mean, it's on, right? Mm-hmm. So what are we capable of, for real? I think it's kind of boundless. I think it's endless. I really do.
I do too. I think infinite possibilities.
I don't know.
Infinite possibilities.
I don't know if I want to be hooking my mind up, though, to like Neuralink and stuff, though. I think... I don't know. Like, is technology that bad of a thing? Is it something that we should be afraid of?
But again, it's coming from the place of only seeing the technology that we know exists right now versus getting access to the technology we don't even know that exists right now.
Like, like things like biogeometry, things that create frequencies, stuff like that. Yeah.
You know, free energy systems and all of that. So
I think that's what the Egyptians understood, and anybody that made megalithic structures or any of the pyramids or Stonehenge, they understood some type of technology that created frequency, that created an energy that balanced things out. There's a lot of books and stuff on that. There's a lot of proof to that too. Scientific proof, actually, that we could change our whole entire planet if we just understood the power of sacred geometry. Not just the shapes, but the frequencies they put off when they work together.
Absolutely.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy, right? So if you want to build a real smart city, to me, it's not like, well, you got this city with all these gadgets and lasers and 5G and all this stuff. It's like a city that everything is geometrically sound and frequency is, like balanced harmonically. Everything's in harmony. They have that stuff figured out already. They've already done the experiments for it. Why do you think feng shui works so well? Like feng shui was the eye opener to this, like real feng shui. And now they're seeing that all of these stone structures, geometric shapes, things like that, they put off certain frequencies. And it's like,
yeah. Even like the crop circles and stuff like that, and the experiences that people have because of the geometry of them.
Yeah, so like, why don't we just skip this whole damn smart city thing and just go to the real deal? Because on my side of the street, we're getting out of body, we're seeing ghosts, and we have like super geometrical cities. That's a way better place to be than your smart city over there.
I agree. I agree. Smart cities aren't so smart.
No, they're not. All right. But we're never going to get there. Like, we're never going to get anywhere if we don't understand ourselves. Like, really say, okay, I'm a human. I make mistakes. I do good things. I do bad things. We all do. Let's figure out why am I doing what I'm doing? And then go into like, what are we capable of? That's what I think. They don't want you doing that.
Oh gosh, no. They don't want you to think about anything that you're capable of.
You know why I think that is? I think you spiritually, just my experience, spiritually and soulfully grow better when you are actually interactive with people in your life. Not just communicatively, but physically, relation is the thing that grows people. At least in my experience, it has been.
Well, yeah, it's how we experience our triggers. It's like we need to be triggered in some way to understand where our healing is needed and growth. And also just having these human relations, like we're social beings by nature. We are meant to be interacting with one another.
Yeah, exactly. And you got it's cool to have the Eastern mindset where you just sit there and like do your chants and, feel that energy. We've all done that, right? We've done that, and it feels good. You could be a criminal and have like the worst criminal record, actually hurt people, murdered people, and you can still get in that space, if you meditate, right? But
well, and here's the thing. What good is that energy if you can only sit in it? You can't live it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think I think we're going to figure this out. Other people have figured it out, like maybe not on a spiritual level, but Germany and other people and like in Europe have come together, and they're like, as a community, when they all came together, they ain't taking it, man. Like they're going to have their lives back. And I was pretty impressed by them, actually. I'm like, why are we not doing that? Well, because they got us scared, man. They got us scared. That's all there is to it.
There's a lot of pressure on the States right now because it is the country to take down. If you take down this country, all the other ones are a lot easier. So that's why there's so much pressure being put on this country right now.
So Night Stalker showing something in the chat room saying, do you think they do that in every city already? No. Like, I think that certain powers and stuff do it, but I don't think that the community and the human race is doing it. That's my point. Like, the Pentagon has a geometrical, it's a pentagon for a reason, the pinnacle. And I've talked to y'all about this, like the pentagram, it represents Gevura. It actually represents severity on the tree of life, the god of war, right? So what better way to like tell everybody, like, we're going to be the war gods on this planet than build your military structure in the shape of a pentagon, right? So like they knew that stuff. They knew the energy these things put out. And like the Freemasons and stuff. Yeah, I get it. I know they're doing that, but it's not doing us any good. We have to dig in and learn this stuff too, is what I'm saying. As a community, it's not supposed to be secret.
I absolutely concur with you.
I'm rambling too much, Nicole. You got me all worked up talking about getting all this stuff done. I'm just frustrated with everything. That's all. So what do you got? Like, tell everybody how they can do your like readings and stuff, because that was one of the best tarot readings I ever had in my life, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got on my website, I actually have a sale on my tarot readings right now. If you do the recording only, where you just order the recording and I'll do it for you, send you the recording. Those are on sale. But yeah, my website's just NicoleFrolick.com. And you can just order a reading from me. I do 30-minute, 45, and an hour, depending on what you're looking for. And I will say this, guys, if you want a really accurate reading, give me as many details as you can. I know there are people out there who think, well, if I just give you my name and all that, but there's something to be said with being able to tune into someone's energy. And the more I can tune into someone's energy, the more details I can get and understand exactly what's going on. But I love doing the tarot readings. And actually, Joe, you want to know what's something cool that just happened this last weekend?
What's that?
I read someone's Akashic records for the first time.
Oh, wow. How'd that happen?
And well, it's a message that I was getting a couple weeks ago that I'm going to be starting to do Akashic record reading. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. How is that going to work? Because, we think it's so interesting the way intuitive abilities kind of come on. Like for me, what I've noticed is that I get these messages that I'm supposed to do something, and I'm like, well, I've never done that before. And then all of a sudden it just starts happening. Like, for instance, in February, I was coaching someone and I was told that I was going to be channeling their inner child next. And I'm like, oh, I've never channeled anyone's inner child before except for my own. And the next thing I know, like, my girlfriend's like, well, if you're going to channel that person, I want my inner child channel too. And so next thing I know, I'm channeling people's inner child, and I've never done it before. It just turned on, just like, just like that. So, and very highly accurate, helped people reconnect with memories that they hadn't even remembered, and a lot of emotional responses coming out of that and healing. So then with this Akashic Records, I was like, okay, I've gone into my own Akashic Records and received information that was very helpful with the use of my inner child. She gave me some very helpful information when I went into my own Akashic. But so I was with a girlfriend up in the mountains here in Colorado this past weekend, and she's one of the ones who's just awakened because of COVID. And in the morning, she's like, oh, do you want to do a reading for me? And I had already done a tarot reading for her the day before. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, what do you want me to do? And she's like, well, why don't we do the big one, like the Akashic? And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I haven't done that one before. She's like, that's okay. And so I was like, well, let's just see what happens. And so I kind of just closed my eyes and I said, just give me a couple minutes, tune into your energy. And like, I'm someone who my hands go cold, really, like my body gets cold really easily. But when I'm doing energy work, I just become on fire. And my hands were overheating, and all of a sudden I started getting all these visions, and I started all this information just started coming out of my mouth, and it was highly accurate for her. And so it was just maybe a 15-minute read that I just did, just to kind of see where it would go. And it was just really cool. If I just allowed it to happen, all of this information started to come through. And so I'm kind of saying this for your audience to know that there's so much attached to how much we believe in ourselves into activating our actual gifts. So the more you believe in yourself, the more you will actually interact with your gifts from a more powerful place. And I feel like sometimes we just got to do it. And in the past, things that have happened for me where I know like I'm being guided towards something is that people just start coming to me asking me for services I don't even offer yet. And I'm like, wow, why is this happening? I think I can do that. And then I just start doing it. And next thing I know, I've turned it into a business because someone just asked me for it. And so there's this element of having to really believe in oneself and to just try and practice and put it out there. Like if we automatically shut it down and say, well, I can't because I don't even know how that works, we've already like beaten ourselves up and not even allowed the possibility to come through. So,
yeah,
that was like super cool to me. And I was on fire, Joe. I was on fire. When I like finished the reading, I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God, my hands, the amount of energy that came through my hands, like my hands almost dropped to the ground because I felt so much energy in them. And she felt my hands and she couldn't believe how hot they were. And then within less than 2 minutes, I went freezing cold again after stopping.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, that's just incredible. Well, I really got to wrap this up or we're going to get cut off here. Can you tell everybody like real quick where they can find your website so they can get these types of services from you? You can
go over to my website, NicoleFrolick.com, and I've got a whole, like you just go over to the products and services button and you'll be able to find meditations, coaching, tarot readings, inner child sessions where I can channel your inner child. All of that is there. And or you can just if you want to like check out my readings, you can go to my YouTube, Nicole Frolick, and I've got tarot readings there, so you can kind of check out my style and see if I resonate with you. And that's how you can check me out.
Yeah, all that tarot reading I got a long time ago was really good too, and I have no doubt that all this other stuff you're probably killing it with that too. Thanks again, Nicole, for coming on the show. It was good to have you.
Thanks, Joe. It was good to be back.
All right, guys, go check out the website. We'll leave it in the links. I got to roll out of here before we get cut off. Thanks to Pacho all the patrons for making the show happen. You guys in the Fringe FM chat, Steezy, Stevie, Chronox. Please don't copy the show without written permission. Stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Good night.
On this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised.